You know those places you dreamed of visiting since you were a little kid? That's Italy for me. And yes, the Lizzie McGuire Eat, Pray, Love, and the cinematic masterpiece that is When in Rome definitely had influence on me wanting to come here. I mean, I was young and hungry to see the world. It's not lost on me that these fictional and non-fictional characters look nothing like me. Still, they were in Italy. They were women traveling unapologetically. And for 90 minutes or so, it was a window into another world I wanted. And now, I found myself in the Eternal City. My trip was a little less glamorous. In those movies, it kind of felt that their trip to Rome signified the culmination of something or the beginning or start of something. For me, it kind of felt like the end of something. I was really over traveling, even though I was traveling, yes, but I felt just exhausted. I had 3 days alone before my mom landed. I'm just staying in a hostel for about 3 days until I meet with my mom on Sunday. Thank the hostel gods, I got a bottom bunk. I did do a little shopping. Here's some of the postcards that I got today. And yeah, this is the hostel. It's not bad, it's actually pretty big. This trip was actually supposed to be a solo trip, but she joined very last minute and she says, well, this is what she said. I think she just wanted to visit Rome, and who could blame her? On my first day, I took a walking tour to get familiar with the city. I highly recommend doing this with any city you're traveling to for the first time to help get situated and know exactly where you are when you first arrive to a city. The tour ended near the Trevi Fountain, and I decided to stay in that area, find a place to eat, had my first cacio e pepe, some red wine, and decided it was time to go back to the hostel. When I got to the metro, it was closed, so I decided to buy gelato. I walked about 30,000 steps that day. Let's just say the next day I slept in. On my third and final day alone, before my mom arrived, I headed to Napoli. The thing is, I knew I wanted to do a day trip, but I really wasn't sure where, and I had decided to go with Napoli. Between us, I was over that day trip by the time I arrived. It had nothing to do with the city and everything to do with the fact that I had failed to admit to myself once again that travel burnout, travel fatigue just caught up to me. So mainly I sat in this park, first eating sfogliatella. Then I journaled a bit and decided to go to Galleria Umberto in search for some postcards. I ended up going back to the same area, journal some more, and I thought to myself, okay, Ashely, you're gonna make this trip a success. So I decided that this trip would be a success if I ate pizza, tried sfogliatella, which I already did, and went to the Spanish Quarter. Then I sat on a 4-hour train ride where I journaled some more about a lot, mostly about a green bag, but that is a story for another time. On day 4, my mom arrived. She's a fun person to travel with, mainly because she's a little unhinged, but in the best way. She also has no sense of time, which is where we clash. And for some reason, she thinks me being there for 3 days qualifies me as her tour guide. I don't know. I mean, yes, I do have a decent sense of direction and can adapt quickly, but it doesn't make me a local. But she's fun. And she always comes prepared with coffee. I get my addiction from her.
2 cups of coffee are for her.
We filled the days with all the things you do. And in a city like Rome, it just feels wrong not to experience the history all around you, even if you're sharing that moment with a couple of hundred other people. Now listen, I don't have the twins and the 2 Lizzies as my only cultural references. I studied Italian for nearly 8 years. But one of my favorite movies of all time is Cinema Paradiso. So when I heard of this, I immediately stopped walking. He was playing the music from Cinema Paradiso. I can't tell you how many times I've watched that movie, but the first time was in high school, probably in my 4th or 5th year of studying Italian, and I instantly fell in love with the story. And call it what you want, hearing him play that familiar tune felt like a full circle moment. Then on to the Vatican, home to the famous Sistine Chapel, the place my mom was the most excited for. And the next day to the Colosseum and Old Rome, Rome's historic, medieval, and Renaissance center, the place I was most excited for. There are a few places you will never forget seeing for the first time, and there she was, in all her glory. As we listened to the audio guide, I kind of was reminded of the gruesome violence that took place here. I don't know if I put that somewhere else in my head and not associated the Colosseum with that, and somewhere I associated the Colosseum with, yes, that scene in the Lizzie McGuire movie where Isabella says, "Sing to me, Paolo." From the Colosseum, we walked to the Old City, and I think I might like the Old City more than the Colosseum. And as you walk of what remains of this ancient city, you get to let your imagination run wild. Fill in the blanks of what it used to be. And in the last few days, we ate pasta, drank some wine, got some gelato, and I had the best tiramisu. Well, maybe the second best. The first being the one my Italian teacher made when I was in college. And in the final days, we went to the Trevi Fountain. But on my first day, the tour guide, he gave us some tips when it comes to throwing a coin in the Trevi Fountain. He said, the amount of times you throw a coin into the fountain will dictate your reason for returning to Rome. If you throw 1 coin, he said, you'll return to Rome. If you throw 2, you'll return because you'll have a fling with a Roman. 3 coins means you will marry a Roman, and 4 coins means you will divorce a Roman. Not sure if I got that all right, but this is what my notes app says. Can't you believe I went there 4 times and I didn't toss not 1 coin? It feels almost sinful. I'm not sure what it means, but I guess I'll have to return to find out. Until then, ciao, and I'll see you in the next one.